Hi, in this week's video we're going to be thinking about task 2 of the IELTS writing test. The reason I want to talk about this today is because last week I got a message in the comments asking about the structure we should be using for task 2 of the writing test. Now, of course, you probably know already this is an essay writing task. You're going to be asked to write an essay and they'll give you an essay question. And one really common type of question is a discussion and opinion question, where they ask you to discuss two views and also give your opinion. Now, I think there's probably quite a lot of debate on how you should be structuring this type of essay. But for me, it's really quite simple in what would be the best or most efficient way to write this type of essay in the IELTS test. Having said that, there's a lot of people who have a different opinion to me, and I just want to explain what I think and why my opinion is that the other possible structure for this type of essay would not be quite the right approach for the IELTS test. Now, what I'm talking about here is really the length of the structure. How many paragraphs you're going to have when you're writing a discussion and opinion essay. Now, a student came to me, like I said, and asked about a 5-paragraph structure and whether we should be using 5 paragraphs to write an answer for a discussion and opinion essay. Now, the structure that I would normally give students is actually a 4-paragraph structure, not a 5-paragraph structure. And there's a good reason for it. In fact, there are several reasons why I would advise people to use 4 paragraphs rather than 5. And I just want to quickly explain why in this video. So if we start thinking about the 5-paragraph structure that many books and teachers would advise students to use for answering task 2 essay questions. Now, from my point of view, the 5 paragraphs that you would have to write for the task 2 essay is really a bit unrealistic. You've got to think, well, you've got 40 minutes to write the whole essay. Remembering it's got to be over 250 words. Well, of course, if you're writing 5 paragraphs, it should quite easily be over 250 words, but also it's almost going to be too much to write here, especially if you're thinking about developing your ideas in those body paragraphs. To me, an essay like this, if you're going to finish it in 40 minutes, is probably going to look quite strange. You're going to have body paragraphs that don't look much bigger than your introduction. And you've got to remember the body paragraphs are the real key part of this essay to show the examiner you can really develop those ideas and explain them fully in your body paragraphs. So for me, being able to do that within 40 minutes is pretty unrealistic for most people. You've got to give yourself realistic aims on things you think you can do within that 40-minute limit you have to give yourself when you're in the writing test. Now, of course, this does bring me to the fact that, well, before I said you're not going to be able to develop those ideas in those short body paragraphs. So if you're writing 3 whole body paragraphs, and of course this would be 1 on one side of the argument, 1 on the other side of the argument, and then another body paragraph for what you think, and maybe it would be a combination of the two. There's no way you can develop those paragraphs enough within the amount of time you're given. And it's possible here there will be some unnecessary repetition as well within your essay. So really that's the second reason I wouldn't choose this 5-paragraph structure to write an essay for task 2. Also, it's actually a bit unnecessary to write this much. Now, if you are going to develop the ideas in every paragraph, it means this essay is going to be very, very long, over 300 words. And that's really not necessary to get a very high score. And there are shorter structures that you can use to get very high band scores anyway. So it's almost like you're doing something that you don't need to do. You're making your job harder than it has to be when you're in the test. And really, we want to simplify the process of writing a task 2 essay by trying to write 3 body paragraphs on top of your introduction and conclusion. Well, I just think you're going to be wasting a lot of time, and you could use your time more valuably and focus on certain paragraphs a bit more than others. So really, those are the main reasons why I think you should be avoiding a 5-paragraph essay. Now, let me tell you my structure that I would use for a task 2 discussion and opinion essay and why I think it's a better option. And basically, it's just because, well, of the opposite reasons to the ones we looked at for 5-paragraph essays. But really, a 4-paragraph essay is going to be a much more realistic option. 4 paragraphs within that 40-minute limit would be possible for most people if you're willing to practice using the structure. And it also means you're going to give yourself more time to write good body paragraphs. The body paragraphs are the key part of your essay. Now, your introduction and your conclusion don't need to be too long, but you really need to show in the body paragraphs that you can develop your ideas. And by having more time, you'll be able to do that better. So really, then, that is the second point, the fact that you can develop your ideas in these 2 paragraphs well enough. You'll be looking at maybe 5-sentence body paragraphs, whereas if you're using a 5-paragraph structure, well, of course, those body paragraphs are going to be a bit shorter. You're going to be looking at maybe just 3-sentence paragraphs, which is really not enough to build an idea. Another reason to choose the 4-paragraph structure is that it's enough. It's going to be sufficient to get a very high score. You don't want to be doing more than is necessary. Like I said, a 5-paragraph structure would be unnecessary. You don't need to make your job difficult when you're in the test. You want to make it as easy as possible. So we're going to try and write concisely and just have 2 body paragraphs. Now, of course, the way in which you write those body paragraphs, I am going to come to. Because, of course, you might be thinking, well, how can I include 2 views and my own view in just 2 paragraphs? And really, it's quite simple. You take one of the views as your own. So your first body paragraph will be explaining one side of the argument or one of the views in the question, and making sure that that first paragraph is not your view. And then the second body paragraph will be your view and, well, the other view that you can see in the question. You will take on that view as your own. Now, of course, you could be thinking, well, actually, my view is somewhere in between the 2. And yes, that might be true. But your job really here is to pass the IELTS test, get a high score. And the easiest way to do that is just to pick a side. In this way, you're making your position very clear. If you're looking at both sides, well, and saying that you kind of agree with both, then maybe your position is not as clear as it could be by just taking one of those opinions as your own. Now, of course, in the 5-paragraph structure, a teacher would advise to maybe have 1 paragraph on one side, 1 paragraph on the other side, and then your paragraph explaining your view that might be somewhere in the middle and explaining that. And that is an appropriate style of essay writing in some situations. But in the IELTS test, it's really not a good option. A better option, and even an easier option, is to go with a 4-paragraph structure. And what I want to do in a future video is actually look at a specific question for a discussion and opinion essay and go through how I would structure that using 4 paragraphs and actually give you a sample essay so you can see it in action. But there we go. Hopefully this was a useful video for you, and now you understand a bit more about how to structure these task 2 discussion essays and why we would use a shorter paragraph structure than the 5 paragraphs that are often promoted in books and by teachers. The 4-paragraph structure is the better option. So there we go. If you did enjoy the video and you found it useful, then do remember to click the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any similar videos in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you in the next video.